Hi, welcome back. This is Intro to Programming for Business Majors, Week 3, Part 2. We just got done with string methods and scope. Now let's go ahead and pop over. We're going to get into some commenting here. So comments are used mainly for almost always for the human. So whether the programmer itself or whoever's going to come and maintain a program later. You put comments in so you can see kind of what's going on, what the program's doing, why, what this variable means, that kind of stuff. There's a couple different types of comments. You can do the double slash here, gives you a single line comment. Anything after that line will be ignored. Block comment, it's the slash with the asterisk on either side. You can have multiple lines inside that block. Then Java doc is a special version of a previous block comment that allows comments to be documented by the Java doc utility program. Basically, a utility program you can run that comes with the JDK that will comment for you. Uh, I've never had much value in it, but people use it. The Java doc comments can be built into HTML documentation. To create the documentation, you run a Java doc program, source file, argument, and Java doc comment, example Java doc comment, and it'll create an index HTML and several other documentation files in the same directory as the input file. The example of the index file here, it actually comes up as an HTML. So you actually get a website out of it. So class comments, public class. This class creates a program that calculates company payroll, and it does all this for you, builds it out for you, so it can make it good for documentation, especially when you're working with a bigger group. Okay? Not something you'll have to worry about within this course, but if you were like a developer, this kind of document might save you time on your documentation when nobody likes documentation. All right, so programming style. Although Java has a strict syntax, white space characters are ignored by the compiler. The Java white space characters are space, tab, new line, carriage return, form feed. What that means is in other programming methods, like in Python, we don't have brackets or we don't have these dash and stuff. So when we say white space, we mean everything from a tab in. Let's see if I can pull one up here so we can show an example here. There's a compact Java. Let's see, look at that. There. Okay, so this is what they're trying to explain, that you can just completely jumble the whole thing up. The idea is that the white space is more for you than it is for anybody else. So it's more for the human. So as you can see, I can put all this stuff here. So I've got public class, public class, got my brackets. As long as all your stuff is there and your brackets are all there, this will run. And you're going to get a result from it. So all the tabs and the spaces like we put in our regular programs, like the other ones we're doing here, these are for us. These are for, this is much easier for us to read than to try to read this. Okay. So that's what the white space, that's what they're trying to say with the programming style. Other programming programs like Python, they don't use brackets and stuff. So they just use white space. So if I'm tabbed underneath it, that means that's what I've got to do. Okay. Indentations. Programs should use proper indentation. Each block of code should be indented a few spaces from its surrounding block. 2 to 4 spaces is sufficient. Tab characters should be avoided. Tabs can vary in size between applications and devices. Most programming text editors are allowed to users to replace tab with spaces. This is a style thing. It makes your program easier to read, looks better. Okay, so let's go ahead now into the scanner class. To read input from a keyboard, we use the scanner class. The scanner class, just like the system class, is a class. So the scanner class is defined in Java util, so we can use the following statement at the top of our program. Import Java util scanner, okay? We actually have to import this one because it's not built right in there. So it lets it know we want to use that. So we can go ahead and take a look at an example of this, payroll.java, okay? Pull it up. So adjust the screen again. Sorry about this back and forth. All right, so as you can see up here, we've got a new line, import java.util.scanner. It means from the Java util library, I want to pull out this scanner. So then I have my public class and my void here. So I have a string name, out, doubles pay rate, and a gross pay. So let me make this a little more readable here. So I'm instantiating a new scanner. So I'm saying scanner keyboard equals new scanner. The source is system input, okay? Remember we had system out, now we're doing system in. So here we have system out print, what is your name? The name, now keyboard is next line, okay? So, and we have one for integer and the one for doubles, okay? So what we're saying here is to kind of wrap this all before we kind of pull the trigger on this one. We're importing from the Java utility library a function called scanner. We just create our variables the way we always have. And now we have to instantiate a scanner object, which means I have to say, I want to use the scanner I imported. So I say scanner, name it, this, whatever you want to call it. This is your name. This is a variable name, kind of. New scanner. The source is going to be system.in. Okay, so it's the same class that our system out comes from, or print comes from. And then from here, we're going to print what's your name. Now I'm using print because I don't want to skip the next line. And then name, keyboard, next line. And we're going to do the same thing for integer and everything else. So let's go ahead and run this, and I'll show you what the output looks like. Okay, so run this file. Run anyway, yes. Okay. All right, so let me go ahead down so you can see the output. And see now it says, what is your name? So if I type in my name and hit enter, how many hours did you work this week? 40. Push enter. What's my hourly pay rate? I will make it up $50 an hour. Hello, Ben, your gross pay is $2,000. So that's what we did with the scanner. So each one times where I had to type in, that's what the scanner utility was doing. That's what that scanner thing was saying. It was asking me to input. And these different things on here, it tells you what to expect. The next double, next int, next line. And the reason for this is because let's say I put a variable in here, pay rate, and I just let you put anything in, like a string, it's going to fail. So somebody puts in. So I'm basically saying that has to be a double. This has to be an integer. We can't run it on anything else. So if I look here, if you see where I came to the hours in the week, that's supposed to be an integer. I typed in dog. So I got all these errors in here because it was looking for the next int. So this spits out the errors. So that's what that's what that's there for. Is it keeps you from being able to put the wrong information into your into the program. Okay. And the scanner class methods are listed in table 217 in the textbook. We're going to be using a lot of scanners, so we'll get used to it. So the parts of the statement, this declares a variable named keyboard. The variable can reference an object of the scanner class. This creates a scanner object. In memory, the object will read input system in. Okay. You notice when I looked at my code, I had something before the system in. That's all automatically put in by NetBeans. That has nothing to do with me. This operand assigns the address of the scanner object to the keyboard variable. Okay, so the keyboard variable that holds the address of the object, and the object is the scanner object configured to read input from system.in. And system.in is your keyboard. Okay, scanner class has methods for reading strings by using next line, bytes by using next byte, integers, long, short, float, double. The scanner class does not have a method for reading a single character. Use the scanner class next line method to read a string from a keyboard, then use the strings class char at, which we saw earlier, method to extract the first character of the string. Okay. So string input, so we have a string called input, character called answer, create a scanner object. So we have scanner keyboard is new scanner system in, and are you having fun? Yes or no. And input, we're using keyboard next line to get the input, and then we're saying input char at 0. Now remember, we said in class 0, that's the thing about, but we start at 0 with our count. So if you're asking me in this line here, if you want to know, are you having fun? If you wanted to get the Y, you would think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, keep in mind, you got to keep the space. But that's not 5. That's actually going to be 4 because we start at 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what, keep in mind that we always start our counts at 0 here. So that can kind of mess you up when you're trying to find stuff sometimes. Okay. Mixing calls to the next line with calls to other scanner methods. Keystrokes are stored in an area of memory that's sometimes called the keyboard buffer. When pressing the enter key causes a new line character to be stored in the keyboard's buffer. The scanner method that is designed to read primitive values such as next int and next double will ignore the new line and return only the numerical value. The scanner's class next line method will read the new line that is left over in the keyboard buffer, return it, and terminate without reading the intended input. To remove new line from the keyboard buffer by calling a scanner class next line method and ignoring the return value. So again, system out print, what's your annual income, income keyboard double, consume the remaining new line, keyboard, that just gets rid of the line, get user's name, what's your name, name equals keyboard next line. So this is good for ignoring the line that's already in there. Dialog box is a small graphical window that displays a message to the user, the request input. A variety of dialog boxes can be displayed using the J option pane class. Two of the dialog boxes are message dialog, a dialog box that displays a message, and an input dialog box that prompts the user for input. The J option pane class is not automatically available to your Java programs. The following statement must be used before the program's class header. So again, just like with scanner, we have to import JVax swing J option pane. This option tells the compiler where to find the J option pane class. J option provides methods to display each type of box. You can get a dialog that has a message, you hit OK, then you have an input dialog box. Okay, message dialogs used to display a message, J option pane, show message dialog, null, hello world. The first argument will be discussed in chapter 7, so we're not going to worry about null right now. Just the second argument is the message to be displayed. So just know if you got to put null there if it works. It's kind of like a lot of the other code. You've got to put it there. We'll figure it out later as we go along. J option pane method used to display dialog. Oops, sorry, we just read that. The next one, input. An input dialog is a quick and simple way to ask the user to enter data. The dialog displays a text field and an OK button and a cancel button. If the OK is pressed, the dialog returns the user's input. If cancel is pressed, the dialog returns a null value. And a null value means nothing. It's not 0, it's not blank, there's nothing there. It's a null. There's nothing there. So string name, let's take a look at this. We have give it a string name. So we're gonna be asking for something. So we got to have a string name in there. We got to have a place to put what we're asking for. Then we say name equals, just like we're assigning a value to it. J option pane, show input dialog box, and I just say enter your name. So this is what comes up here. This is where your enter name comes in. The argument is passed the method. If the user clicks the OK button, name references the string entered. If the user clicks the cancel button, the name now has the value of null. Okay. The program that uses J option pane does not automatically stop executing when the end of the main method is reached. Java generates a thread, which is a process running in the computer when the J option is created. If the system exit is not called, this thread continues to execute. The system exit method requires an integer argument, so system exit 0. This argument is an exit code that is passed back to the operating system. This code is usually ignored, however, and can be used outside the program. To indicate whether the program ended successfully or as a result of a failure, the value of 0 traditionally indicates the program ended successfully. Converting a string to the number, J option pane, show input dialog method always returns the user's input as a string. So a string containing a number such as 127.89 can be converted to numeric data type. Each of the numeric wrapper classes covered in Chapter 10 as the methods converts a string to a number. Integer class has a method that converts a string to an int. The double class has a method that converts a string to a double. These methods are known as parse methods, and their names begin with the word parse. So here, what we're doing here is we're taking a string of 1 and we're saying byte, parse byte, and we're putting in the value. Int, integer, parse int. So for each one, notice you have to declare the variable and then assign it using the parse method. Reading an integer with an input device, we have an int number, string. So we say string option dialog pane, enter a number, and then the number equals the integer parse the string. So whatever I return. So I type in 10, then I have to convert it to an integer. Reading a double, same concept, give it a double, price a double. Okay, and we have a payroll dialog. Take a look at real quick to kind of look at this code. This is the last slide. So again, and all in the payroll dialog boxes here, we're getting doubles next. Payroll dialog here we can go to. And let me reset the view here. And the same thing. So we're importing Java Swing option pane up here, public dialog, input string. Notice we don't need to import the scanner here because we're not using the scanner. We're using this J option pane to bring in the information. So again, string input. So I say name J option pane, show what is your name, what is plus your name. Input string, how many hours did you work this week? And then we're going to convert this result into an integer using the parse int function. Same thing here, what's your hourly rate? We'll parse it a double, then we're going to do those. So let's go ahead and run this so you can see how it runs, okay? And then we have a system exit status 0, okay? So that'll stop the program from running. And again, that's caused by the J option pane. It's not something that would be a problem with if you didn't have that. So here we go. First thing that pops up is, what is your name? I hit Ben and it says, okay. Now, how many hours did I work this week? Oh, sorry, you're not seeing it. It's popping up on my other screen. There it popped up. 40. Okay. What is your pay rate? I think I'm going to give myself a raise. We'll make it $65. Okay. Say okay. And then it tells me, hello, Ben, my gross pay is $2,600. I hit okay. And that's it. Now the program's done running. And that's done but killed by the system exit. So that's all we got for this. We'll be continuing to use these functions and features going forward. Again, feel free to use this as a reference, and I look forward to seeing you in class again. Thank you.